Expression goes everywhere. Today, we're in Jerere Mamvuka village in the Limpopo province. Now, gender-based violence is still one of the biggest challenges and obstacles in South Africa, impacting on almost every aspect of life. Today, we're visiting the family of one of the victims of gender-based violence, Precious Ramaburana, who was raped and brutally murdered. Join me as we go and check in on her family and find out how they've been coping after the ordeal. Makuru, muturu wavo Precious ova ngwana de.
Rano mumbura kale Precious ngaure. Aba kuvusa mutsawa kusiya wana miyawe. Ono ba ngari rachikono ngaure ba muthu wa munna kachitanga cha miyawe. Ngori aba chikono tsogomela miyawe kati muna chimwe vasipanacho. Na wachijena chikoro. Ava kuti profesa zvivuyori ari kapasa vo ayapanda udova mwana wane ashumela muta
kha vuchinyi ho to raliwa musi ri tshi khou pfa uri hu khou ḓi tou anda vhutshiya kha shango lashu maga ane a vha vhononga a nga dzhiwa u itela uri hu vhe na vhulamukanyi ndi maga a nonga safhio.
Ndi soko vhona ungari muvhuso u khou fanela u khwaṱhisa tshanḓa hezwi zwo pfhi muthu u ḓo ṱuwa nga tshikhuwa vha tshi ri life imprisonment ri khou zwi vhona zwi khou itea vhathu vha fhedza vho vhuya mara a dzi tou vha ya phanḓa o ḓipfha na vhaṅwe vha khou ḓivhulaya u bva tshe Precious a vhulawa ndi vhanzhi ro no vha pfha nṋe ndi vhona ungari tsha khwine ngo hezwi upfhi thambo a i tou vhuya a hu tsha neṅwe solution.
Expressions also visited a family of another gender-based violence victim, Poshe Ramakabi, who was brutally murdered last year during 16 days of activism against women and children abuse. Let's go and meet her family. Shida kota ushidza vana vawe uri miyavo ho itea mini khavho vo swi konisana.
Zwo ḓi konḓa na musi kula kuṱuku ku kwa ḓiri miyako yo dala ḓo vhuya. Ro muthu vha ro muthu wa protection a dozi nisika tharu. Zwino mara zwo no rara a dzi violator.
Lune ezwi a tshi muvhidza o vho to mukungela thungo
uri kha ḓi dzhie zwiambaro zwa vhana zwa Christmas for Christmas. Nṋe ra ḓi ri nṋe ndi tshi pfha vha ndo wana siwa nga matshitiro zwino muḓo wa muḓuru nṋe ra tshi mukaidza uri andi khwine a fhambane na muthu u ḓo vhuya mu vhulaya.
Sinbingele Sinamgele, and you're watching Expressions, and this is your #1 Youth Current Affairs show. Now, as we continue to crisscross the country having constructive and meaningful conversations with the youth of the country, our next stop takes us to Limpopo, where I'm joined by the wonderful Chipiwa Mbedzi. Hello.
Thank you so much, Nko. Indeed, it is a warm welcome all the way from the far north in the Limpopo province, Halakamajosi, Inhlekani, Ndimasiari. Now, South Africa has undeniably the highest level of gender-based violence and femicide. The question we ask today is, are we doing enough to curb the gender-based violence?
Yep, that's the burning question. Namhlanje kusihlwa ke Mbugele, and of course we are not live this evening, but we invite you to partake in this very important discussion enkundleni zethu zokuxhumana. Tonight's episode is brought to you in partnership with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development under their initiative, the Under the Tree Dialogues, which started in 2019 with a focus on areas with large numbers of incidents of gender-based violence. And of course, to have this discussion with me on Expressions this evening, I'm now joined by Ubaba Ukezani Baloyi, who is the Area Court Manager and comes from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Usisi Uriri Sengani is, of course, a gender activist and founder of the Renee Foundation, Dr. Randy Cheney. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this important discussion with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to have you on the show. And of course, standing in for Ujeke is Usisutiviwa Mbedzi, making sure that our voices with audience here too are all heard. Guys, I have to thank you so much for joining us in braving the heat. Please give yourselves a round of applause. So now we get the conversation started. Sisiriri, I know that as a community, when we have our conversations around gender-based violence, you know, people never always have rather these ideas of how they would be dealing with an abusive partner, and that is during the time when ama violence happens around them. It's not until it happens to them. Now, it happened to you, right? And I just want to know from you, you endured being in an abusive relationship for 2 years. Please tell us what happened.
Thank you, Mgo. Yes, I'm a survivor, actually. That's what I like calling myself, because I actually survived the abusive relationship. So basically what happens is that the perpetrator or the abuser deals with you psychologically before it becomes physical. That's when you get used to the abuse and you feel that sometimes it's your fault, or rather you didn't talk to him in a proper way, you disrespected him, and you feel that you are the one at fault. So it's all in the mind. So by the time it gets physical, it's something that you feel I had deserved it, because that's what he has trained you to believe. We always, or rather, victims of gender-based violence or domestic violence, they're so defensive towards such actions. That's where you find that most of them, they get brave into opening cases, but at a later stage, they go withdraw the cases because they feel that they are the ones at fault, and hence they keep apologizing all the time, though it wasn't their fault to be in an abusive relationship.
Talk to me about what exactly was happening in your relationship, because I read somewhere where you said your light bulb moment, the moment that made you realize that you had to get out, was when you were left unconscious. Tell us about that.
It was emotional, it was physical, it was financial, and obviously sexual. He would take my bank cards, withdraw money the way he wants to. He feels entitled to the money that belongs to me. He would physically assault me. He would assault me and expect me to satisfy him sexually. Until it got to a point where I was left unconscious. That's where I just decided 2 years later that, you know what, let me just live and save my life. So it was more of physical than the emotional and financial and the sexual part.
Reverend, you know, when we listen to a woman telling us of a tale that almost took her life away, it really cuts deep as a man in South Africa in this day and age. And as she continues to, tell us her tale, it's also hard not to make mention of that hashtag that went viral on our social media, hashtag men are trash. You know, when we look at that, and do you think that our silence, as well as our defensive outlook as men, makes us accomplices in this escalating tragedy?
Thank you so much. It is just a pity that the church is so conspicuous by its silence. So I think it is high time for the church to raise issues like this. Otherwise, if we keep silence, we are not emulating what our Lord Jesus Christ did. He was always in the community, trying to defend even the women. So our silence really, it is not helping anyone. So I think as a church, we need to come up and be the salt and be the light of the world.
Babu Baloyi, as
Yes,
the area
police.
court manager, I think I also need to bring you in at this time. But Sisteriri, what happened to the perpetrator in your case?
I let him go because I'd always open cases, and later on during the day, once I'm okay, I'd just withdraw them. So I never really got the courage to get him arrested. So he's free. He's roaming the streets.
Babaloy, this is where I need to bring you in, because the perception is that our criminal justice system has an appetite that is overprotective of perpetrators of gender-based violence. Is this the case?
No, it is not the case. The justice system is not single-handed. That's why we have justice cluster. The perpetrator will commit a crime, and the SAPS will have to arrest this perpetrator. The court now is not knowing exactly what is happening. And the perpetrator will have to be brought to court. That's where the court will know what this perpetrator has done. The crime he has committed. It has to be proved in court that this is what this man has done. He has killed this woman, and how. Because remember, in the court, you got to have evidence in order for the court to convict a perpetrator. But what I must say is that the public must assist the court in terms of evidence as to what happened when this woman was killed. I hear my sister in here, she said she suffered abused and she did not even open a case. How is the court going to know? You see now.
All right, Sibamba Lapo, and of course we will continue with this discussion when we come back from the break. And of course, Uchipiwa Mbedzi is on standby to get some voices from our audience. You're watching Expressions, Shalanati. You still watching Expressions, and this is your #1 youth current affairs show. Are we going to win the fight against gender-based violence? That's the big question, namhlanje kusihlo, as we bring you the special edition of the show in conjunction with the Department of Justice and Correctional Development. Now, of course, Chief is standing by with members of the community. Chiefy, what do you have for us there?
Yes, indeed, Mko, this is a very heated or rather disheartening discussion as we learn about some of the experiences that happened to the people within the community. Now, in this row in front of me, I've got family members of one of the victims and survivors, including survivors of gender-based violence.
Muratwanga ovulaiwa nga 26 za January. Achikotoraikaniwa swikisela achilova ufe achikosokori ndicheni muya wanga ukotuwa ndicheni muya wanga ukotuwa achikosokori ndidhonira uswika nichidzima amuraikana uswika achidzima
Womzusi wete minikabona
ngalimwedu wanga machirondo bwanda tonera mukomana wanga ezi ndichibuya ndidzanjana pa mukukunda ndikudzula kawo ndawanobalanganywa zvitu tongopandiko panda dziswera ndadzula nga madekwana nichisedza pasi ambiri ndikutadzira ndivana ukutamwa mutukana ndashava ayamparageti anjenisa vange mukukuni anripa
itswariwe n'wansati mteki nsati n'wana wa mina i nhwenyana na yena a nga va victim ya gender based violence. That's why ni voni swi ri na nkoka ku va ni ta va ka this dialogue.
Ko tala dyondziso ku ri vavanuna va na matimba and kusukela a ku sunguleni swi endla ku ri vavasati va teka nkarhi kumbe va chava ku humelela ku ri va xanisiwa. So it's a high time ku ri a va fanekele va va na matimba ya ku tiyimela aka swilo hinkwaswo hi minkarhi hinkwayo.
What causes this kind of brutality within our societies? What is wrong with our generation?
Lexi nga kunilekeni eka vutomi bya siku ra namuntlha i ku vana lava hi nga na vona lomu makaya makuriselo ya vona a swa ha fana leswi hina khale hi nga kurisiwa xiswona. Vana lava kula va ri na enga leyi escalataku swi fika ku la
Before you just continue there, let's just quickly go to some of the boys, because I think this concerns the boy child, and it would be very important to hear from the boy child as well. But Fetu, thanks so much for joining us on the show. Fetu, listening to abantu besifazane, women, speak like this and tell us of their tales of how they are violated, how does it make you feel as a boy child?
Mina ntaku hi kwatisa hi vatswari cause ekuma ku va lwa mahlweni ka hina ekuma loko va dakwini va nwa mahlweni ka hina ende va tlhe va hi rhuma a ti tavern la hi dyondzaka swilo leswa swa ku nwa swidzidziharisi hi dzaha swidzidziharisi hi tlhela hina and then tlhe swi nyika kwetlembeto swo hiya loko hi vona vavasati hi la swin'wana ka vona cause hi va hi dyondzise hi vona a kaya
ndizokufisisa ungari izwo swithu zwavhuḓi and like na zwithu zwine zwa vhori zwi a zwi ita ndisokufisa ungari kha vhathu vha vhafumakadzi huna nḓila ine vha react ngayo kha vhathu vha vhanna zwa vhuya zwa fhedzisela zwi tshi swikisa uri vhathu vha vhanna vha swikelele hafho hune vha fhedzisela vha tshi khou pfhi vho vha reipa a thi vhoni ṱhamusi muthu wa munna a tshi nga to ḓipfhesesa nga maanḓa kha ri no uri hoyu muthu ndi muthu ane vhori ndi munna o vhibvaho kana o alusiwa nga kualusele kwavhuḓi nga maanḓa kha nḓila ya riṋe sa vhavenḓa so a thi
I'm going to ask Mr. Bamuza, as a community development worker, what can you say? You heard the young man, he's saying that, no, there's got to be something that the girl child did, to deserve that kind of behavior in return. What's your take?
So in our community, what we must do, we must take this issue as a societal issue. Like a societal issue. Now you see, you find the person abuse way. Maybe Friday is an example. That person due to report that person it's hammer, not that problem until Monday. So if as the community members, we can start as from now. There is stakeholders. Stakeholders number one is an example. If I take a moon who found the pastor or any person who is having a problem, if you can go to pastors, if you can go to chiefs, if you can go to the people who are running the community, I mean the structures, with these issues.
What is the way forward now when the situation is as is, Councillor?
Kuya ibumbu bya Afrika Dzonga. Munhu un'wana na un'wana ina lunghelo ra ku hanya. Una lunghelo ra freedom. Una right ya ku vulavula. Kambe a una right ya ku xanisa munhu. A una right ya ku pfinya munhu. A una right ya ku dlaya. Kuya hi ti commitment leti nga vulavuriwa la namuntlha hi ti structures. But the committee le aka swilo swa ku tala swinene. One of the area ikuva each and every school kuva na social worker to identify victims and place them under supervision. One of the way forward is to fight against family bullying to young ones. Also to include curriculum on gender-based violence and femicide in schools.
Loko a chava xigevenga xi chava xi ku chavelaka justice. Justice na vona va vitana vikosi byi tshunela kusuhani tindhawu hinkwato ti tshunela kusuhani ti languta xigevenga lexi ku biha ni na xoko xigevenga lexiwani lexi a xi fanele xi endla ku fana lexi a xigevenga xi ta chava xi ku hey switirechasi hinkwaswo swi hlanganini hambi ni tsutsumela ka justice va kona hambi ni tsutsumela aka vukosi va kona hambi ni tsutsumela kwihi va kona justice loko va fikini le swigevenga leswi justice va nga ha swi nyiki na parula va nga ha swi nyiki na nchumu a va pfaleli swilo leswiwani swi nga ha vuyi van'wankingiri tihosi ta valoyi swi ta hi xanisela va mhani na vana va hina laha inkomo.
Usahlezi nathi la Expressions, and we are coming to you out of Limpopo namhlanje, and this conversation is brought to you in conjunction with the Department of Justice and Correctional Development. Umasbuya, we talk to some more victims and get some of their take on the topic that we're speaking about namhlanje. Remember to keep the conversation going in Gudlen Zethu Zokuxhumana. Siyabuya. Are we going to win the fight against gender-based violence? That's the big question, namhlanje kusehlwa. As we prepare to wrap this important conversation up, my panelists, we have to wrap this up right now. Now, you are speaking for the many women who, first of all, come to you for help, who have been abused, and speaking for some of the women in South Africa watching Expressions and sitting in pain, not knowing where they should go for help. What do you think we should be doing? What are the solutions?
We need to speak up. We need to break the silence and get the perpetrators of gender-based violence locked up. We also need to assist each other as women, because some of the reasons why women are sitting at home and not speaking out, it's because they're being violated by women also. They're being given all those sorts of names and judgments. And let us also try to identify a problem with our children. Let's get to be observant when it comes to our children, because those are the ones suffering a lot of violation. It could be bullying, it could be sexual, it could be a lot of abuse happening. So as a parent, let's get to see the characters of our children and learn them.
Reverend, we're wrapping this up now, and we heard some of the sentiments that came through. And when one of the speakers actually came up, they said one of the solutions they would be introducing is to bring a social worker to each and every school. Do you think this will help us in ensuring that we no longer raising an angry boy child, but to be able to raise a boy child, we'll be able to say to, listen, man, it's fine. You can cry even if you're a man.
I think we need to encourage men and women to have joint meetings, sometimes also to have meetings with their children, Because if you continue to have separate meetings, we will always cry about gender-based violence. But if we come together and identify the issues which are really bothering our society and then try to handle them head on, I think in a way we will be able to say we are now building a better society.
So essentially we should be speaking with the boy child, not to the boy child.
Yes, we need to have meetings with them.
Absolutely. The reality is when Expressions packs up and goes back to another province, goes back to Johannesburg, the reality is someone in this very place here goes back to a reality of being beaten up. Speak to us about what the Department of Justice will be doing. Just take the women of the country to your confidence and tell them that we have a justice system that is ready to prosecute, that will not be bungling case, and that will ensure that the women of the country are taken care of.
I must tell you that the courts are ready. The courts are ready, and I must make an appeal to our people to assist the courts when there is a crime committed, to come up and become a witness, assist the court with evidence, and the courts are ready to send that perpetrator to jail. Above all, there are courts and there are police stations. Don't harbor a criminal because it's my uncle, because it's my relative. Go report that person to a police station.
That brings us to the end of this special edition of Expressions Namhlanje Kusihlwa. Now, this was brought to you in conjunction with the Department of Justice and Correctional Development, Konala Limpopo. And Chiefy, I'm still reeling from all the conversations that we had Namhlanje on Expressions. What did you make out of them?
Well, I almost couldn't hold back my tears. But anyway, we do hope that this Under the Tree dialogue is going to bear, good fruits around the community. And because our women cannot continue to live in fear of violent reprisals, that could even lead to rape or them being dead.
Yeah, and the mere fact that we're having these conversations under a tree instead of having them in some hall or some boardroom, I think the youth will hear better. Mbugeli, thank you so much for joining us. And we thank you as well for your participation on all our social media platforms. This has been Expressions. Guys, thank you for joining us. And of course, our quick thank yous. We have to acknowledge, of course, the chieftaincy for giving us a very warm hospitality. And we have to thank as well the Department of Justice and Correctional Development, and as well as the members of the community for braving the weather elements. Guys, please give yourselves a round of applause. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sibonga kakhulu for being with us. This has been Expressions.